people, they make me so angry. If only there was a way to stop people from making me so angry, I wouldn't have to suffer and I could have peace and a thriving life. Sound about right? Well, it turns out there is a way to stop people from making you angry. And it is this little known truth. People don't make you angry. You make you angry. And in this video, you will learn how you are making you angry, what you can do to change that, and how that will lead you to a much more peaceful, happy, thriving life, regardless of people. Hi, I'm Kevin Mepham, and this is Thrivespan, building a life that thrives in every way, now and as you age. So, I'm making a pretty far-fetched claim here. I admit I'm saying people don't make you angry, you make you angry. How could that possibly be true? Well, let's try a little thought experiment. Suppose you're driving down the highway, 80 miles an hour in the fast lane, flow of traffic, and all of a sudden you see this big orange McLaren just barreling up behind you, comes up, rides your rear bumper, flashing lights, honking horn. When you pull over to let him pass, he zooms right up to the car in front of you and repeats the whole behavior. Self-entitled asshole, you shout at his receding headlights. Anger. He made you angry. But what if you knew that the reason that he was in such a hurry and driving so insanely was because his wife had an at-risk pregnancy, gone into labor prematurely, and he was just doing anything he could to get to the hospital in hopes of being there before it was too late? Hopefully then, if you knew that, you'd respond with sympathy and understanding and not anger. So, same driving behavior, two different interpretations of the reason behind that behavior, two completely different emotional responses. See, we are taught that the way the world works is stimulus response. You get with a stimulus, you respond with an emotion, an action, it's automatic, you can't control it. But no, you are not a helpless victim. Because the truth is, as we saw in our little thought experiment, it's stimulus interpretation response. And in that space between stimulus and response, that interpretation, we can create for ourselves the ability to choose the interpretation and therefore change the response. Means we control how we react. We control whether we get angry. It's a superpower. It is the key to unlocking a life without all this self-inflicted suffering that we don't even know we're inflicting on ourselves. So, wow. How could we actually do that? How could we create the ability to choose our response? By choosing our interpretation. And if we could choose our interpretation, and thereby our response, how would we know what interpretation to choose if we actually had that freedom? One thing at a time. So first, how do we create this superpower for ourselves? Two things. And there are two things that are fundamental to this whole Thrivespan journey. The first is a mindfulness meditation practice. And when I say practice, I mean literally you are practicing. And in this case, what you're practicing by doing a standard mindfulness meditation is you are practicing becoming aware of your thoughts and interpretations and doing something with them. So here is mindfulness meditation 101. Sit down someplace comfy, close your eyes, breathe, focus on your breathing. Thought pops up. Notice the thought. Let it go. Back to your breath. What does that do? Well, it's a practice of becoming aware of your thoughts, and it's a practice of choosing what to do or not do with them. And both of those are fundamental to becoming aware of our interpretations and deciding whether to keep them or change them, and therefore controlling our reactions, our responses. The second piece, journaling, is it's a recognition that in the moment, unless we're really, really good and really, really self-aware, very often we are not going to be able to do this in real time, no matter how much mindfulness meditation we practiced. It's going to be a morning after thing. And we're going to sit down with our journal and go, wow, I did not handle that well yesterday. What caused me to have those less than productive, less than ideal responses? What caused me to get angry? What caused me to get all stressed and short with people? And apropos of nothing at all, that was my day yesterday, and that was my journaling this morning. I just was not having a good day yesterday. I was extremely stressed. I was extremely snippy. I was not a pleasant person to be around. And so my journaling this morning was me figuring out where that came from and what I could interpret differently to reduce that, and what choices I could make that would make it less likely for me to be triggered by these things. That is journaling. Journaling is most of the time it's going to take several times of you having this stimulus and getting this response and going, man, I wish I didn't feel that way. I didn't respond that way. And taking a few examples in order to be able to connect the dots. So that's where the journaling comes in. The mindfulness will make you aware of how you're feeling, so that you're aware and how you're responding, and then so that you're at least aware that you're not wanting to feel that way. And the journaling is where you're really going to sit down and figure it out. What you'll find as to where your interpretations are coming from, a couple of big ones that we should at least talk about. The first is you're going to find out that you are self-centered, and so is everybody else. And one of the mistaken interpretations that you and I make is we think that people, all the time, we think people are doing stuff to us deliberately, when in fact, they weren't thinking of us at all. We're really not the center of everybody else's world. We're only the center of our own. So, big interpretation that we have to get rid of is the idea that everybody is thinking about us and deliberately choosing to screw us over, when most of the time, the vast majority of the time, they're not thinking about us at all. And it really helps to shift the interpretation to the reality that people are really not thinking about us at all. The other thing that we become aware of is our lenses, our lens. This is the thing through which we see the world. So If you were brought up in a household that was all about respect, and you were accused of being disrespectful by your parents, and your parents would get upset when other people disrespected them and they would demand respect, there's a good chance that you're walking through the world with a respect lens, and you see your interactions with other people through a lens of respect and disrespect. You're not aware of that because none of us are aware without a lot of self-reflection of the lens that we see the world through, because we don't feel like we have a lens. We just look out and this is the way the world is. We, by the way, assume everybody else sees it the same way through that lens of respect, if that's what our lens is. It's really easy to see other people's lenses because it turns out they're not like ours. All we have to do is listen to what they accuse us of, and that's their lens. So if somebody is constantly accusing you and other people of disrespect or demanding respect, they've got a respect lens. You have a lens too, and it's going to be really important through this process to figure out what it is and to realize that it is a distortion and it is not the way that other people are going through the world, and it is not the way that other people are thinking about treating you. That is another source of interpretation and misinterpretation you will find through this. So, having gone through and continuing to go through the process of becoming aware of your reactions and your emotional responses and your physical actions and the interpretations, the thoughts that those are coming from, and the interpretations behind those thoughts, as you open up the space for yourself to choose different interpretations. Wow, didn't even think I had the ability to do that. Now I do. What do I choose? Well, ideally, you would choose the interpretation that was true, because we really go through life a bit more successfully if we are basing our decisions on how to act on a foundation of absolute truth. But the problem, particularly if we're talking about the truth of other people, is we just don't know it. And very often, they don't know it. I mean, we've just been talking about this self-discovery of trying to figure out what our misinterpretations of the world are. Everybody else is walking around with that too. So they are not necessarily going to be able to tell us, even if we ask them, why they did the thing they did. Because like I said, like we've been all talking about, we don't even know why we respond the way we do unless we've done the work. So we just need to accept that the vast majority of the time, we will not know the truth of why somebody did what they did. And therefore, in the absence of being able to choose the true interpretation, we should choose the interpretation that serves our thriving and our growth and our happiness and our peace and equanimity. We might as well. So I will choose to give people the benefit of the doubt and assume that they didn't know, or they were just doing the best they can, and that was just what they had. That I will first let go of the interpretations that said that people are doing things to me deliberately, aimed at me. There certainly will be some of that, and there will be times when there's enough preponderance of evidence that I will, this person really is being a deliberate jerk toward me, and I will draw my boundaries and I'll respond accordingly. But the vast majority of the time, I don't know. There's no actual evidence one way or another, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that that wasn't something that was deliberately aimed at me. That is the first big step that we can take to choose a more productive interpretation of the stimulus that we get from other people. One thing that I find really helpful here is a saying I learned a couple of years ago that I repeat often, which is, everybody is exactly as you would be if you were them. So If you had lived there, if you had been born as them with their genetics and their family life and raised and gone through their entire life history up to this present moment, you would be them. Now, they still have the ability to grow just like you do. And you do have the ability to set boundaries, and should, but have some empathy for how everybody is at this moment based on where they came from. And choose the interpretation that serves your thriving, which is fundamentally, they're not, in most cases, they are not deliberately doing it to screw you over. You're just collateral damage at best. Okay. Side note, this does apply, all of this idea of stimulus, interpretation, response applies equally well to inanimate objects. We've been talking about it in terms of people, which in some ways is the advanced game. A way that you can practice this is in inanimate situations as well. Traffic is the perfect example. And this is where we get to a third kind of interpretation that we become aware of that causes us to be angry. And I think I got this from Orion Taraban. It's the idea that we have this idea of how the universe should be. And our anger comes from all of the times that the universe is not operating the way that we think it should. But what hubris on our part to think that we get to decide how the universe should behave. It's laughable on its face. So I'm angry because I think traffic should be flowing smoothly at 9:30 in the morning on northbound 805. So I'm angry because the universe is not operating the way I think it should work. And the work I have to do on my interpretation is to realize that I don't get to decide that. Another interpretation practice that you can do, so traffic's really good for that, take a cold shower and practice interpreting the feel of that cold water as a sensation, not as something that is bad and uncomfortable and I can't stand cold water. Those are all interpretations you're putting on yourself. They are not the truth. They are just interpretations. Cold water is just a sensation. And practicing taking a cold shower and practicing interpreting that sensation as merely a sensation is another form of mindfulness practice that is very handy for practicing your interpretations. Tattoos are similar because you were working on interpreting the pain that you're feeling as something that is coming from a choice that you made that is a temporary pain that you know is temporary and not a life-threatening injury. Another great meditation practice. So, summary, people don't make you angry. You make you angry by the interpretation that you choose of how those other people are behaving. That interpretation is your choice, and if it's making you angry, there is probably a better choice of interpretation out there that would serve you better and give you a better life and not be any less or more true, because we don't really know what the true interpretation is most of the time. You get there through mindfulness meditation practice and journaling. And so the call to action, because there's always a call to action, is start that mindfulness meditation practice if you're not already doing it. This is all I ask. 5 minutes a day. You can find 5 minutes. Sit, close your eyes, breathe, focus on your breath. Thoughts will inevitably come up. When they do, notice them, don't judge them, let them go, return to the breath. Rinse, repeat. 5-minute timer goes off, you're done. Do that for a week. Let me know how it goes. While we're on the subject of people, Watch this video next to learn about the 6 must-have partner traits for your happily ever after. Okay? Glad you've been here with me. Thanks for hanging in. Hope you find something useful out of this. Thrive now for life.